Until one day I realized I'm like, yeah, I got about a week left and I'm going to be completely broke. And I went completely broke for like the 8th time in my life.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return to the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never.
Well, hello there. I know what you're thinking. Liam, where have you been? Why haven't you put out an episode in forever? You know, I had this whole big comeback, and then what happened? I fucking went right back into the darkness. Look, man, the shit's fucking hard, all right? We got a business we're building. I got the content stuff I still gotta do so that I don't go broke. We launched a podcast, which I wanted to mention on this channel. We got a podcast, so make sure you go check that out. I'll put a link in the description. It's called Chump Change. We've done 14 episodes already. At this point, I think the podcast is really, really solid. I think you'd enjoy it. We talk about business, talk about life. We make some dick jokes. It's all kind of shit. I do it with my cousin. He goes to Cornell. He's more like, you know, put together and like looks like a human. I'm a fucking retard, as we all know. So, solid podcast. Definitely check it out. Chump Change Pod. Put it in the description. But yeah, so look, a lot's happened. I'm going to try to make these episodes for now kind of simple. I want to make them easy to edit for myself, you know, so it's not going to be too visually intensive. It'll be kind of podcast style. And this is going to be the plan until I can get a content person in here to help with the podcast and also, you know, to help me with this. So maybe we could do a little more things once I have some help. At the moment, this is the best I got, though. So I'm going to give you some updates. I got some topics here that I want to talk about regarding the business and the journey that we're going on together. So, okay, so first, let's kind of recap last episode. So last episode, we talked about, you know, how the business is kind of broken down into 3 parts, right? We got our lead generation, we got our acquisitions, and we got our dispositions, right? So lead gen is where, you know, sellers come in, they raise their hand, they say, hey, I want to sell my property, right? Acquisitions is when we take those sellers and we're able to work out a deal with them, put it under contract, right? Now we have product, and then disposition is where we take that product and we're able to sell those contracts to investors, right? So there's 3 parts of the business, and in order to make this a successful business, we've got to master all 3 parts. Additionally, last episode, I had just closed our last deal. That was back in October. We're now in, February? So, yeah, it's been some time. But I had some money after that deal that I reinvested. I hired more people. I also paid for some coaching, which we went over. It was very effective. And if you recall, I also had committed to kind of spending a lot of money into reinvesting, into more marketing, more people, more everything, right? You can see the clip right here. I'm not super happy that we're spending so much money on data. Like, it's a little more than I could afford right now, but fuck it. I mean, you know me. I'll fucking put my balls to the wall. I don't give a fuck. And so that's exactly what I did, and I was nervous about it, but I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But for now, let's kind of focus on what happened after that episode. As we mentioned, you know, the lead gen started to go up. We went from 3 to 10 leads a day, and to be honest, I don't know how ready I was, you know, for that additional volume. And so it actually kind of became hard to keep up with all the leads that we were getting in. It was almost like we were getting too many leads, which I know sounds impossible, but follow-up was becoming a problem. Because, you know, look, it doesn't sound like a lot, right? Because it's like 10 leads a day. That's not that big a deal. But it's 10 leads a day on top of all the other leads that you have to follow up with. And so after 10 days, you got 100 leads and you have to follow up with, you know, 50 of them, and that keeps compounding and compounding every week. It becomes a lot, and much more than I anticipated, and it's not really a problem that I really prepared myself for. And this would later become one of the things that really affected the business in a negative way. We had all these leads, and I was not able to properly follow up with them to the degree necessary to, you know, really do the business properly. So that's the first issue. The second issue was a lack of skills, right? So I was getting the leads in, but I think I was a little more confident than I should have been in my ability to actually turn those leads into contracts. There's a process that needs to be followed, and that process requires confidence, it requires certainty, it requires knowledge, right? For most people, you know, selling their property is one of the biggest decisions of their lives. And so you need to be leading them, you know, like I said, with confidence and keeping them comfortable and confident that you can get the job done. I didn't necessarily do that, you know? There's too many ums and ahs and, you know, stuttering, and you give people the sense that, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, or I might not be able to come through, or I might not have the money to do this deal, or whatever. You signal that to them, it becomes a big problem. And I think that, you know, even though, you know, I was trying to puff my chest out and look like I know what I was doing, I probably wasn't. And so that was something that that I realized that I had to work on as well. So between issues with follow-up and issues with, building my skill set, I wasn't able to effectively turn these leads we were getting into contracts. And here's where that became a problem is, as we mentioned earlier, I was investing heavily into the business, right? I was spending $6,000 a month. I didn't have a huge runway. I didn't have a year to figure this out. I had maybe 90 days, right? Financially speaking, I had about 90 days to get the job done. And remember that it takes 30 days to actually, get a deal from signature to closing. So really, I had 60 days. I had 60 days to get my next contract to keep the business sustaining, which was stupid, right? And looking backwards, I should have probably been smarter about the way that I invest. But I wasn't. I'm an idiot. Whatever. We're all learning. But before I really get into all the problems, I want to just first give a breakdown of what these expenses look like, right? I say I'm spending $6,000 a month. It's like, on what? So obviously the first thing is the callers, right? I had 2 full-time callers and 1 part-time caller. The 2 worked 8 hours a day, 1 worked 4 hours a day. So I had 20 hours per day of people. These are in the Philippines. They cost $5 an hour. So it was about $100 a day, $500 a week, $2,500 a month. That's just payroll. Now, those people are dialing numbers all fucking day long. To be exact, they're dialing 10,000 numbers a day. Out of the 10,000 that they dial, they have about 700 conversations. That's a lot of data, right? So the second expense and the biggest expense was the data, the phone numbers. Figure this. I was probably spending around $1,500 to $2,000 per month per caller on data. So like I said, 2 full-time, 1 part-time. All in, that ended up being probably another $5,000 or $6,000 a month. And then in addition to that, we got the calling softwares, we got our CRM, some other minor expenses, right? So all in all, it was about $6,000 to $7,000 a month. Biggest expense was the data. The second biggest expense was the payroll. And then the smaller expenses were the softwares, which were not, nothing. It was about $600 a month. Bottom line is there wasn't a ton of runway here, right? We had to make something happen. And I was betting on myself. So what would soon ensue after that was really not pretty, right? I was going heavy. I was investing in myself, and I really didn't want to take my foot off the gas, right? I was happy with how the lead gen was going, and because I was happy with how the lead gen was going, I just wanted to fix the acquisition problem. I was like, if I could just figure out this acquisition problem, like, I will get our next deal, we will make a lot of money, and I will keep this business going, and that's all I wanted, right? And so I was kind of being like an optimist. I was like, we're going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. It's not really what happened. So instead what happened was I started to cut hours. At this point, I should have just laid them off. I should have just taken a pause because we had enough leads in our CRM where I could just follow up with those and I could start to, sharpen my saw without spending so much money. Because it's like until you can close the leads you got, there's no need to bring in new leads. And that's something where I should have just set my pride aside and just kind of embrace that strategy. I didn't. Looking back, that was the right strategy. In the moment, didn't really feel that way. And so I continued to spend crazy money to invest in myself to try to get that next deal, and it didn't happen, and it created more and more and more pressure until one day I realized, I'm like, yeah, I got about a week left, and I'm gonna be completely broke. And I went completely broke for like the 8th time in my life. It's happened a bunch of times. It's always been on purpose. It's always been because I'm super aggressive. And this is one thing that I'm learning, is that I need to be smarter and more long-term thinking about the way that I invest in myself and my business and my people and all this stuff, right? Yeah, what happened next was horrible. I had to lay off all my people. I had to cancel everything. My bank accounts went negative. I think at one point I was like negative 1,200, negative 1,500, something like that, maybe even more. I had, a couple boxes of mac and cheese and chicken pot pie in my freezer, so I lived off of that for about a month and didn't spend any money on anything. Didn't have any money to spend. So that was it. That was the hit that I took for my business. And luckily, I was, able to climb myself out of that hole, as I always do. Because, I still make money. It's not like I don't make money. I just had to kind of be patient and, wait for the other opportunities that typically present themselves, on a monthly basis to kind of get me back on my feet, which they did. I've actually had a couple good months. So back on my feet now. Throughout that whole process, I was continuing to just sharpen my saw when it comes to the acquisition process, right? I was like, what do I need to do to become great at acquisitions? What do I have to do to be able to lock up as many contracts as possible? And I'm still not there yet. But I definitely think, after the last deal, my acquisition skills were probably at like a C-. And I think now they're probably closer to like a B- or a B. And so I'm working my way up and I'm getting better and I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with the sales process. I have some cool deals in the works. But more importantly, I was able to lock up a deal about a month ago. And we should talk about that deal for a little bit. This deal is in Orlando. I thought it was a great deal. It really didn't need a lot of work. I thought I was getting it at a great price. The deal had actually fallen apart previously. This lady said that she had an offer for like $235 on the property. I was only able to offer her $215 at the time, and so she ended up going with this offer for $235. And I said that's totally fine. Just make sure that they're putting down heavy earnest money, that they're legit, pretty much, right? She's like, yeah, I got it, right? They ended up not being legit, and so I ended up following up with her about 2 weeks later, and I was like, hey, just wanted to make sure everything went smoothly with the closing. And she's like, oh my god, I can't believe you called. I lost your number. I wanted to call you. I can't. These people did exactly what you said they were going to do. They screwed me over. So from $235, my offer was $215. I ended up getting this property under contract at $205. And so at that price, I thought it was like a guarantee that I would make money on it, right? I was like, this is going to be a great deal. Didn't actually end up being the case. Actually ended up being a very hard deal to sell. I figured it pretty much needed no work. I figured maybe $5,000 just to touch up a couple things. People were coming back to me, with closer to $20,000 in repairs. And so again, this is kind of just part of the learning process, figuring out like, hey, my customers, the investors, the cash buyers, like, what do they want, right? What are they looking for when they buy a house? And so every deal I do, good or bad, I'm able to get a clearer idea of what I should be looking for, what I should be staying away from, all that stuff, whatever. So I ended up getting this deal, negotiated down to $200. I was able to find a buyer that was willing to pay like $202. Like I was gonna make like $2,000 on it. He ended up not being able to move forward. You might be watching this right now. Fuck you. Just kidding. Love you. But it actually ended up being a blessing in disguise. So what happened after that was I was literally about to lose this deal, and I reached out to a friend who mentioned that he knew like a hedge fund that might be interested in a deal like this. And so we had the hedge fund go out to the property. They did an inspection, and we were actually able to, after a little bit of negotiation, get the hedge fund up to an offer of $210. So I had it at $200, we were going to get it at $210, it would be a $10,000 thing, and I was going to split it with the guy 50-50. So I make $5,000, he makes $5,000, and that's exactly what ended up happening. The hedge fund agreed to the $210, we were able to get a closing date agreed with the seller, we had to push it back a little bit because we ran out of time, but yeah, everything worked out. That deal, if all goes well, should be closing next Friday. So super excited about that. It's a small deal, it's $5,000, but we'll take it, we need whatever we can get. But let's talk about the lessons. We kind of went over everything. Let's talk about what have I learned over the last, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. So I think the biggest lesson that I've learned has to be, don't scale things that aren't working, right? If it's not working, don't scale it. Don't invest more into things that aren't working. Get it right first, right? Start small, get it right, master it, right? Doesn't have to be, like I said before, I think our acquisitions right now is at like, B-B. Doesn't have to be at an A+, right? But at least get it to the point where you're able to have a sustainable business going, right? Maybe, if everything can get to like a B or a B+, then at least that'll keep the business going. It'll be good, and then we can, optimize to get it to, A+, whatever. But if you're at, a C- in certain areas, like, don't invest more into acquisitions, right? Don't invest into more leads where I'm going to have to do more acquisitions when I'm not even able to close the deals that I have. You know what I'm saying? So that has to be the biggest lesson, is don't scale things that aren't working, which sounds like a duh, but I think it's probably, I can't be the only one that's making that mistake, right? I think you get excited, right? You close a deal, you're like, I'm the shit, and you just want to invest more, right? You're like, I did one deal, I made $15,000. If I can do 3 deals, I make $45,000. Oh, simple. But it's not really how it works. You have to understand when things happen, as a coincidence, and when they happen because of mastery. I did 2 deals all of 2021. It's not mastery. They're not coincidences, but they're not mastered. You have to be able to tell the difference between luck and skill. You have to know when something happened because, you got a little lucky, whatever. And you have to know when something is happening consistently because you've developed that skill set. So that's a big lesson, very helpful. Another lesson would be, and this kind of goes hand in hand, is master your craft. Like I said, we got the 3 aspects of this business. The lead gen, it's not mastered, but it's like we're at A- or maybe an A, right? We can get it to A+ through, a couple easy things. But that, it's not the problem. It's not the problem with the business. The lead gen is very solid. I'm all good with that, right? At least it's not the thing that has my direct attention right now. We have to master our craft in these other 2 aspects, right? Most importantly, the acquisition, right? Because, selling the deals, first of all, if it's a good deal, it'll sell itself, but you need to have deals to sell. And so the acquisition has to be the top priority, in my opinion. And so, yeah, it's really about just mastering your craft and, you know, taking pride in, hey, I'm the best at what I do, or I'm one of the best at what I do, or I'm really fucking good at what I do. If you don't have that, then it's like, what the fuck are you offering to people, right? The value that I provide in my business is I acquire contracts for, you know, people that buy flips or rentals or whatever. I provide them with those deals. That's the value I provide. If I can't do that, then I'm fucking worthless. I won't make money, and I shouldn't make money, right? So the reason that I'm able to get paid $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on a deal is because I'm going to give that deal to someone else and they're going to make $30,000, $40,000 on it, you know? So I'm finding deals where there's enough meat on the bone for both of us, pretty much. And that's how I get paid. And if I can't do that, I won't get paid. I shouldn't get paid. And I'm not going to be mad about it. So master your craft, be proud of it, be confident in it, and be realistic about it too. If you're not mastering your craft, say, I have more work to do. You always have more work to do, but am I at a 98 and I need to get to a 99? Am I at a 75 and I need to get to a 90? Like, where are you at? You got to be real about it. For me, like I said, lead gen, I think we're at like a 90. I think we can get to, 100. Acquisitions, maybe we're at like an 80 now, I think it's solid, but I'm still not like, I'm the best at acquisitions. Like, that's not where I'm at. I think I'm solid. I think I'm probably as good as someone who's good at it. I'm not the best. I'm not great. I will be, though. I will continue to develop, and I will be the best, 100%. And then lastly is dispositions, which is more about building out a process. And I think the better you get at acquisitions, it gives you more at-bats to kind of get great at dispositions. But you have to get good at acquisitions first. Anyway, here's the last lesson, and this is definitely one that hits me personally. And, it might not be the same for you because you might have a brain. I'm retarded, which is, don't be stupid with your money, right? I'm the kind of person where it's like, if I have the money to invest in myself, I'll just be like, fuck it, and I'll go balls deep, and I'll just be like, fuck it, I'm taking the risk, I'm gonna invest, and it's gonna work out, and that's fine to do, but I will do it with my last, dollars, and that's stupid. The reason it's stupid is because having $0 affects your mental health, and you don't want to be at that point. Like, you want to know that your shit's taken care of. You want to know that you can be a functioning human being. You don't want to be eating Kraft mac and cheese, by force, because you can't afford a salad. And that's literally the kind of shit that I'm willing to do, and I shouldn't be willing to do that. Like, I shouldn't be willing to compromise my health to keep my callers working. Like, that's silly. Yeah, I'm just being completely transparent here. And, like I said, it's good that I make money, I make a good living for myself where I can, rebound out of these things pretty quickly, but you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. I should be smarter. I'm going to be smarter. I'm never doing that again. I'm always going to keep some money on the sidelines for myself so that I can take risks and not have to worry about dying, And you should definitely do the same. Don't die. It's bad for your health. And yeah, I think that's it, right? Hopefully that, kind of gets you updated as to what we've been working on the last few months. As far as, where I'm at now, I'm still continuing to follow up with the leads that I got. My callers are not working today. I'm probably going to bring them back. I'm going to bring them back slowly. Like I said, I'm not going to spend any of the money that I make from this deal or anything. I'm going to just put that on the sidelines as well as some other money. Just kind of put that on the sidelines so that I don't have to be stupid anymore. And then from that point on, I'll start to worry about bringing my callers back. But I really want to get, one or two more deals with the leads that I have and then use that money to bring my callers back and to really give it another shot with our B- acquisition skills. But I'm not in any kind of rush because I really believe that I can get deals done with the leads that I have in my database now. And at least if I can't, at least I can get myself from a B- to a B+. I'm being patient, I'm being smart, being humble, I'm being gay. What? And that's it. I think we're good. So thank you guys for watching 0 to a Million. I didn't do my intro. I just forgot. I didn't do my intro. Fuck it. Thank you guys for watching 0 to a Million. Make sure to like, subscribe, dislike, subscribe to Chump Change. We do an episode every Friday at noon. It drops. Solid podcast. If you like podcasts, definitely go check it out. And yeah, I will see you in the next episode. Peace.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those. She saw the stone, you know how that go. Fatality, my diamonds that cold. Versace trunks, I hit my backstroke. Knock on the door, she at the back, bro.